Welcome. It's all very well for us to identify where to buy, but if we don't buy that property in the place that is right for us to buy in at the right price, then we're not going to get the return that we're really looking for. This short video is about why you should buy the Right Price Report. The Right Price Report is undoubtedly the premier pricing report in the Australian market. Let me explain what's in it. As I outline the content of the report, please remember your task of identifying a price for a property is not hard, providing you have sufficient information. The Right Price Report has been designed to provide that information and make your task of making a profit by buying at or below market as easy as possible. Don't be put off by doing the sensible thing because of the small dollar cost involved in buying this report. Remember, this process of buying at the right price can make you thousands of dollars. Keep the few dollars in perspective. Save as little as $5,000 by negotiating the right price, and that will mean that when you sell in, say, 15 years' time, you will have saved at least twice that amount in interest. In the report, we provide 6 separate tests of value, and these tests are discussed one following the other. We list these tests in terms of their relative importance, and then we provide finally a Residex statistical estimate which is developed and based on all of these tests collectively. These tests should not be considered in any way as a definitive answer. As I said, evaluation is not a pure science, it's an art. So any one of those tests could be telling us the correct answer, and we need to consider each. The more of these tests that are telling us the same answer, the more likely we are that we are correct in what the outcome of the value of the property is. The first test relates to comparable properties. We identify as many properties as possible with similar attributes that have sold recently in the immediate area. We rank these properties in order of similarity. We list them so that you can go and have a look at them later. And then we do something which is entirely unique to Residex. We upgrade the sales prices to current day values based on the changing market conditions in the area surrounding the property. By doing this, we end up with a lot more data than others would end up with. And from this data, we can then calculate the most typical value of the property, which is similar to yours. We now have our very first test, a lead to what the possible value of your property is. But it's not definitive. You will usually find that we have listed some 20 plus properties. However, as I said, there can be no certainty that this scientific approach has worked. So then we select a further group, which are relatively similar, but not as similar as the first group. In this group, you'll find there are about 30 plus properties, and hence you can undoubtedly have more properties that are similar or are comparable than you could ever possibly need to actually identify the value of your property. The next test is about identifying how your property compares to other properties in the street, and from that comparative analysis, actually understanding what its value ought to be. We have a distribution of values for every property in the street. If we know what position within that distribution your property has, then we can identify the value. We do this by asking you to rate your property by comparison to other properties in the street, where 1 is worst and 10 is best, and 5 is typical. And from this, we can actually identify a value based on your rating. Yes, you may rate wrongly, and to overcome this problem, we provide you with a listing of the distribution and the relative values for each number between 1 and 10. Hence, in the event that you haven't got it right, you can actually look the table up and identify the second test value from the table. The third test is a much more simple test. It is just simply the median value of the properties in the immediate surrounding area. This just simply tells you what the value would be if the property that you're looking at is typical of all other properties in the area. The fourth test can sometimes be less relevant than the others. It is based on the land content of the property. We are identifying a cost per square metre and then applying that to the actual land size of the property that we're looking at. The fifth test can provide a reasonable indicator of the property's value, provided the property is similar to other properties or typical of other properties in the suburb. What we do is we take its historical sale price, if we've got it, and we upgrade it by adjusting it for price movements in the suburb to today's date. We now have 5 separate price indicators for the property. Residex understands the relationship that these property price estimates have to one another, and it weights them all together to come up with one single price. We call this the right price estimate. This right price estimate and all of the other tests are displayed graphically so that you can see visually the relationship that they have to one another. Undoubtedly, the report will have led you to the right price for your particular property. However, on its own, this is insufficient. What you really need to also understand is what the likely future outcome is. So the report provides you with capital growth predictions, rent, interest rate predictions, and CPI. And in addition to that, provides you a listing of properties that are for sale so that you can actually make a comparison between the property that you are intending to buy and what the other alternatives are in the market. I commend this report to you. It's a report that I've developed based on my own experience. I know that there is sufficient and full and complete detailed information which will allow you to come to the right answer. This, coupled with the help, I think, ensures your success. Good luck.